Dear student, hope you will be healthy and fine at your homes in this period of lockdown. Today we will discuss the first class of radiology from the radio department of radio diagnosis. The part 1 of the chest radiograph, that is related to reporting of the normal chest X-ray. That is how we can read the normal chest radiograph. So there are few facts. Let us see few facts about the chest X-rays. These are the most commonly performed diagnostic examination, and it is most frequently referred investigations in the day-to-day clinical practice. Approximately half of the all X-rays, all radiographs obtained in our departments, they are related to chest X-rays. There are about 750 radiographs are done in our department in Delhi, and out of that 50% are chest X-rays. So it is very important investigation, one of the very important investigation. It is usually done to evaluate the disease of lungs, heart and chest wall or the chest case. Let us see what is the radiation dose for the frontal chest X-ray and the lateral. It is about 0.02 millisievert for the frontal view and 0.08 millisievert for the lateral. Why do we need chest X-ray in day-to-day practice, in our OPDs, in our IPDs? So what are the indications of the chest X-rays? So students, we know the most important indication is the respiratory and cardiac symptoms. For example, cough, chest pain, breathlessness, etc. Second, to rule out any focus of the pathology in the systemic disease. To rule out any intrathoracic causes for the abdominal symptoms or any other symptoms. Fourth one, and important for the staging of the malignant disease. You know, in each and every staging of the cancers, we used to need the chest X-rays to know the status of a metastasis, whether they are not or there is or not. And the important and last indications is the pre-operative pre-anesthetic examination must need of the chest X-rays. So how do we report of a normal chest radiogram? So for simplicity, we can divide it into 4 parts. That is patient particular, technical considerations, radiological anatomies and artifacts. We must go through these all 4 parts and just start to, before starting the chest radiograph, you must need to have all the clinical notes of that related patients. So what are the patient particulars? Always check the name and age of the patient. It may be marked on the radiograph by the marker or by the lead markers. Okay. Then see for the X-ray numbers. What are the numbers? Date of the radiographs to know how old it is, and always see for the right and left side markers. Always see. If you don't find any markers, that is left or right on the chest X-ray, then confirm it from the department or from the concerned radiographer or the concerned technician, so we can get what is the exact site, because we can't decide on the basis of the cardiac position. If it is possible, you may get a radiograph with the dextrocardia and you try to keep the cardia on the left side, So you may do mistake for that side. So always get the properly side mark X-ray. If you don't get it, then always consult the particular concerned radiographer or technician and ask him what is it. Always ask for the clinical emotional notes from the about the disease of the patient, and if available, always obtain own films for the comparison. So let us see what are the technical considerations. Among the technical consideration, projection is important. Whether the X-ray is PA and AP, you know the PA view is the most important view. The standard chest radiograph is the PA, that is posterior anterior projection. In this, the cassette is kept anterior to the patient, and the X-ray source, the X-ray tube, you usually keep on the back of the patient. While doing the chest PA view, the patient shoulder should be rotated forward so that the scapula comes out of that lung fields, and you will be able to see the proper lung fields both sides. There should be exposure must be in the full inspiration. So say the patient take deep breath inside, hold the breath, and then shoot the X-rays. Okay. Always keep the centering on the T5, that is the dorsal fifth vertebrae. During doing the chest X-ray, anti-chest wall including the breast should be compressed properly on the cassette or the detectors. The film focal distance should be at least 6 feet. Second one is the AP view. Why do we need the AP view? By already having the P. Yes, we do need in some situations when patient injured, when patient is ill, and he or she can't get up, or he or she can't stand up, then in this condition we may need to get the AP view. So usually AP view we can get in the supine or the sitting position. It has more magnification, that is virtual magnification, 15 to 20% of the mediastinal shadow on comparison to P view. Lungs marking in the AP view are more accentuated, more pronounced on comparison with the PA view. Okay. And we may mistakenly do a label as a venous hypertension in case of AP. So these technical artifacts must be taken into consideration while we do report of the chest X-ray. What are the differences between the PA and AP views? So there are some differentiating points. By the help of that, we can differentiate the PA from the AP. You will find in the PA view obliquely placed clavicles and rounded ribs on both sides. See, rounded ribs on both sides. Here, straightened clavicles and acutely angled ribs on both sides. Here, you will find the scapulae, both scapulae are out of the lung fields. But here in AP view, see, you can see these both bilateral scapulae are obscuring the lung fields. Okay. In case of PA view, you will find blurred cardiophrenic angle, where you will find deeply notched cardiophrenic angle in the AP view. So these are some differentiating points, but ultimate answer will be given by the radiograph or the concerned technician. Final answer will be given by the radiographer or the technician. There are some other views we may get in the practice. There is the lateral view, that is the oblique view, for the particular indication if the patient is having anti-mediastinal mass, posterior paravertebral mass. Then in the frontal view, the overlapping structures may hide that particular lesion, so that we may need of the lateral view. And the oblique view, sometimes we can miss small fractures on the lateral side of the ribs, so that we used to need the oblique view. Then few other views are decubitus and lordotic apical views. decubitus view to know about the minimal or very minimal fluid effusion or the fluid in the dependent hemithorax, so that we can see the air fluid level here. Here you can see the fluid level in the along the dependent chest wall, and we get the decubitus view. So in case of the subpulmonic effusion, we may not see the exact meniscus or the level of the fluid, but if we get in decubitus view, the fluid will be trickle along the dependent chest wall, and we can see clear cut the effusion on the dependent side. Lordotic apical view to know the hidden areas of the apexes, bilateral apexes, to know the small tubercular focus, to know the small sulcus tumor, to know the other small vascular lesions. So we may need of the lordotic and apical view. Second point, technical point is centered. The chest radiograph should be properly centered. How we can see whether it is properly centered or not? See, this is the tracheal air shadow, and here is bifurcated into the right bronchus and left bronchus. Okay, so this air-filled trachea should be centered over these spinous processes. You can see very well these spinous processes. So the distance from the spinous process and the medial end of the clavicle should be equal on the both sides. Okay, so that we can say that it is properly centered. If we find that tracheal column is here, in this case, the air column trachea is here, and the medial end of this clavicle is here, and this middle end of this left clavicle is overlying this spine. So it is off-centered or the oblique. Then third technical point is a penetration. Penetration, that is either it is soft X-ray, soft radiograph, or the highly penetrated or the hard radiograph. What do you mean by penetration, or what do you mean hard or soft? It is related to technique factors, that is the KV or MS. If we use low KV, low MS, then we will find the soft X-ray. If we use more KV, more MS, we will find the hard X-ray, that is the overexposed, that is the highly penetrated view. We may need in some situation a highly penetrated view, we may need in some situation soft X-ray, but usually we should get the optimally penetrated view. We should also look for the degree of inspiration. Usually we get the chest X-ray in the deep inspiration. That's why we used to ask the patient to take deep breath inside and hold the breath. But sometimes we may get the expiratory film like this. So there is a comparison with the expiratory and inspiratory film. Here the cardiophrenic angle is obscure with this dome. Here you can see very well this cardiophrenic angle. So sometimes we may miss the abnormalities, the basal abnormalities, basal lung abnormalities in case of the expiratory film. In case of the obese patient, in case of the some habitus problems, we may get the expiratory film, and that will create some problems. Here you can see this is inspiratory view, this is expiratory view, but there is a lesion here. You can't appreciate the small pneumothorax, but here you can appreciate this small pneumothorax. So in some situation we may need of the expiratory film. Other situation is in the foreign body. In the case of the children, we used to get an expiratory film particularly to know the air trapping on the affected side. Then we may see sometimes the hyperinflated lung. Don't be confused with the emphysema. So here you will get the dome of diaphragm depressed, but the pedastum is normal, and the lucency is more and symmetrical, and you don't find any type of the bulla or the other altered X-ray fields. Okay. Then come to the important part is the radiographic anatomy. So what is the technique? You look for the abnormalities in the lung fields. So the best way to direct the search of the chest rather than the simply gazing at the clip. So you won't miss any but reasons. If you follow this technique, used to search in this way, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, for the both the hemithorax. Okay, it is the best way to look for the any abnormality on the chest X-ray. Then come to the trachea. Trachea is usually centrally placed air column. You can see very well over the upper dorsal and cervical spines. So you may see the right paratracheal strip clear cut, but usually the left paratracheal strips we can't see. So right paratracheal strip's thickness should be less than 5 mm. If it is thicker, we can suspect that might be some right paratracheal pathologies, likely lymph nodes or maybe other things, or sometimes maybe due to substernal or the enlarged thyroid. Okay, then always see for the diameter of the trachea. It should be 25 mm for the male, adult male, and 21 mm for the female. See, it is air-filled trachea, centrally placed, but here it is deviated to right side due to the fibrotic collapse. Here, area of the fibrosis is in the right apex, and the trachea is deviated toward the right side. Then see for the cranial angle. It must be between 60 to 75 degrees. You know it is widened in case of the enlarged left atrium or any mediastinal mass like the large lymph node muscles. Then come to the mediastinum. It is important for space in the chest, and usually the superior boundary is bounded by the thoracic inlet, inferiorly bounded by the diaphragm, laterally by the parietal pleura, anteriorly by the sternum, and posteriorly by the thoracic spine. Then come to the various divisions of the mediastinum. Conventionally, anatomists divide the mediastinum into 4 parts, that is superior mediastinum, anterior mediastinum, middle mediastinum, and posterior mediastinum. What is conventional division? It contains the cardia in the middle mediastinum, and there are some drawbacks in this anatomical division, that it doesn't give a clear-cut idea about the disease process, and neither these boundaries give the barrier information about the barrier to the spread of the disease. So Felsen suggested a method of division based on the finding at the lateral chest X-ray. He divided the anterior, middle, and posterior division, and kept the cardia in the anterior division of the mediastinum. Then come to the content of the these divisions. There is various parts of the mediastinum. You know, there is a long list of the content of the superior mediastinum, anterior mediastinum, middle mediastinum, and posterior mediastinum. So you should not forget that the Felsen suggested the cardia should be in the anterior mediastinum. Then come to the cardiac anatomy in the PA view. What structures are forming the right border? What structures forming the left cardiac border? You must know. See, if we start from the cranial to caudal side, then here you may see the right innominate vein, then inferiorly superior vena cava, then part of the ascending aortic arch, then this is the right atrium, this is some part of this diaphragm. See, on the left side is aortic knuckle. Usually we start with the aortic knuckle. Sometimes you may find the left innominate vein here, and after the aortic knuckle you will find this density due to the AP window that contain the main pulmonary conus, main pulmonary artery. Then come to this left atrium, left atrial appendages. See, this is left atrial appendages. Then part of the left border is formed by the left pulmonary artery. Then the major part of the left border is formed by the left ventricle border. Okay. Then you can see the chambers of the cardia in this way on this frontal and the lateral view. See here the right atrium on the forming majority of the right cardiac border. Here, the right ventricle forming the antemost part of the mediastinum is cardia. If we talk about the left chambers, then left ventricle forming the majority of the left border and left atrium forming the major part of the posterior border. Then come to the cardiothoracic ratio. What is this ratio? If we draw a line at the maximum dimension in the thoracic cavity from inside to inside, and then draw a central line. Then draw a right and left sided maximum dimension, a line parallel to maximum dimension of the cardia. If the A plus B, so A plus B should be less than 50% of C to D. Okay, that is the normal ratio. With good centering, 2/3 of the cardiac shadow usually lies on the left side and 1/3 on the right side if the film is properly centered. So normal transverse diameter of the cardia or the mediastinal shadow is the 15.5 centimeter male and is approximately 14.5 centimeter in case of female. But it varies according to people habitus or that is the build of the patient, build of the person. Okay. So normal value of this CT ratio, it should be below 50%, but you may find some 55 up to 55% in case of the AP film, where you will find the virtual cardiomegaly, and in case of the infants, you may find the CT ratio up to 55%. So measurement in isolation is less value than when previous films are available. So any increase of the excess of the 1.5 cm in the transverse diameter in the comparable serial film is significant, always significant. Then come to discuss about some lines and stripes. What is lines and what is stripes? Lines typically measures less than 1 mm in thickness and stripes are more than 1 mm. Okay. Lines are formed by the air typically within the lungs and outlining the thin intervening tissue or the fat on the both. Various lines or stripes you may visualize on the frontal as with the lateral chest section. Antijunction line, right parietal glystic, posterior junction line, left parietal glystic, and in this way some azygosophageal interfaces, right paraspinal line, left paraspinal line. These lines are important. Important to note that you should know these lines. So see, this is the antijunction line. This is the antijunction line. It is. I don't want to go in the depth of these junction lines. This is posterior junction lines. This is right paraspinal lines. This is left paraspinal lines, and this is azygosophageal distance. What important things about these lines are to know about the disease process, the epicenter of the disease. By knowing these lines, you can conclude, you can give the opinion about the epicenter or the origin of that particular lesion on the chest axis. Okay. By the helping of seeing the deviation and effacement of these lines. Then come to the OP window, that is otopulmonary window. It is bounded superiorly by this aortic knuckle. See, this is the AP window, this is the star is the AP window, this is aortic knuckle, and this is the lower one is by the superior wall of the left pulmonary artery. See, this is forming by the inferior wall is formed by the left pulmonary artery. So this is area having the AP window, that is having the main pulmonary tank. Okay. So it should be convex, see, convex contour, and it must be concave in the its contour, and if it is convex, then it is abnormal. Okay. A straight contour of this AP window may be normal, but it is considered abnormal when the previous chest X-ray radiograph show the contour to be the concave. So if originally concave and it become straight or it become convex, then it is progressed to the abnormal side. It means there may be chances of it is pulmonary hypertension. Then come to the hyla, right and left hyla. The hyla, these are the actually containing the vessels, lymphatics, and traversing bronchus, right bronchus, left bronchus, and these densities actually not right or left side are not the same level. Usually you will find the left hilum is upside and right hilum is downside, and the normal lymph nodes are usually not seen. But in any opacity other than this vascular opacity may be regarded with a high index of suspicion. So usually these hila should be equal density, should not get any increased density on the other side, particularly any disparity on the other side. Always suspect for any abnormality. In 97% people left hilum is hilar, but you may find on the same level or the left and on the lower side in the 3 to 6. Okay. Left pulmonary artery lies above the left main bronchus. Left pulmonary artery above the this is left main bronchus, air-filled column, and this is the left main pulmonary artery. Okay. And before passing the posterior, hence the left hilum usually appears slightly higher. At the where the pulmonary artery lies anterior to right bronchus. Okay. Where the right pulmonary artery usually anterior to right bronchus. Then this is the AP window. This is the line drawing from the aortic knuckle to the left cardiac border. This convexity due to the pulmonary conus, that is the AP window. It should be convex, concave, and if it is convex, then measure the line from here to here. The distance from here to here should be less than 15 mm in any condition. So main pulmonary artery forms always the convexity of the left cardiac border, and the mild prominence of the main pulmonary artery is normal in children and young women, but it increases in case of the pulmonary hypertension. Here you can find the diameter is the diameter of the right inferior pulmonary artery. It should be 16 mm in the male, and in female it may be 15 mm, but in any condition it should be less than 17 mm. This, if it is the enlarged, again denotes the pulmonary hypertension. See, it is a prominent right inferior pulmonary artery. Okay, you can see this might be case of pulmonary hypertension. Here again prominent right pulmonary inferior artery, right inferior pulmonary artery with this V-shaped opacity, that is Hampton Humps. It was the case of the right pulmonary artery thrombus with the infarct. Here on the lateral chest X-ray, you may find ascending aorta, arch of aorta, descending aorta, this shadow of this aorta. You may see the scapulae, shadow of this scapulae. These are all the hilar structures. This is the column of the trachea. These are the right and left dome of the diaphragm. Usually you will find the right dome is continuous and ends till the anterior chest wall, but the left dome of diaphragm usually merges with the cardiac shadow. So what are the hilar structures in the lateral chest tube? We can see very well. See, this is arch of aorta. See, you can see this is left pulmonary artery. This is the left pulmonary artery. This is pulmonary trunk. Okay, this is right upper lobe bronchus. This is the left upper lobe bronchus. So in this way, you can see the many abnormalities on the left chest wall. This is the retroexternal space. This is the posterior costophrenic angle. The lucency should be progressively increased if we grow from the cranial to caudal. If you find there is opacity on the lower side, you must think about any pathology likely the pleural effusion or any other area of the consolidation in the posterior segments. Then come to the lung fields. When you go to see the lung fields or the report on lung fields, always compare from the right and left. Always see for any diffuse process, any generalized process, or any focal lesions. Okay. See, always compare from the right sided bronchovascular marking, left sided bronchovascular marking. See from the progressive pruning or progressive tapered bronchovascular marking. Any diffuse abnormality, diffusely increased bronchovascular marking, or diffusely pruning of the bronchovascular marking, or any other focal lesions in there. See, usually the vascular markings are more prominent on the lower sides. Okay, lower zones you will find the more prominent vascular markings, but the upper zones will have a less, but that is more lucency. It is due to the actually gravitational effect of the vessels. Okay, so this should be vascular pattern proper. And main thing, the bronchovascular marking should be progressively tapered and branching. These are the question of the normal bronchovascular markings. Then come to the important part, that is the pleural spaces. Directly we can't see the pleural spaces or these frontal or the lateral testicle, but we may find what are the fissures. So see, main fissures are the oblique and horizontal fissures. They separate the lobes on the right side. They separate the upper and middle lobe from the posterior lower lobes, and on the left side it divides the lower lobes from the upper lobes. Okay, so we can see these fissures only when the X-rays traverse tangentially through these fissures. Otherwise, we can't see in the routine chest X-rays. There are some other accessory fissures, that are the azygos fissures, superior accessory fissures, inferior accessory fissures, and left-sided horizontal fissures. Here you can see these horizontal fissures. If you could see here a thin horizontal lines. See, this is the major horizontal fissure. Here you can barely see, this is the oblique fissure, major fissure. This is oblique fissure. Okay. Here it is the accessory fissure, that is azygos fissure, usually covered by the 4 layer of the pleura, and encasing this the azygos vein. Okay. Here this is a line drawing diagram of the major fissure, oblique fissure. This is the horizontal fissure. So these are the locations of this horizontal fissure. This is the oblique fissure. Always see for the costophrenic angles and the cardiophrenic angles. See, this is the costophrenic angles making between the costal wall and this is the diaphragm. Okay, here cardiophrenic angle between the cardiac shadow and this is the diaphragm shadow. Okay, then come to the diaphragm. In the majority of the right diaphragm is higher than the left. Why? You will surprise, the right dome of up and left dome is usually lower due to the weight of the cardia. Because in case of the dextrocardia, but cytosis, liver is on that side, you will find the right dome of diaphragm lower down. Even there is the liver shadow, okay, on the right side. So the lowering of the diaphragm, left or the right, it is due to the weight of the cardia, not due to the liver. Okay, you should keep in your mind it is due to the weight of the cardia. Generally, it is right dome of diaphragm is higher than the left, but it may lie at the same level, and in the 3% population, the left dome may be higher. But always keep in a suspicion in your mind. If you find the left dome is up, always think about the eventation or it may be due to other problem. So try to get the clinical notes of that patient. The difference greater than the 3 cm in the height is considered always significant. Sometimes it may be normal difference due to these normal variants. What? This is the diaphragm hump. It may be due to scalloping, due to muscle slips. See, this is diaphragm hump. Diaphragm hump is basically partial eventation. Okay. See, this is the frontal chest X-ray showing the diaphragm hump here. You should not forget to see below the diaphragm. You will get the air below the diaphragm in case of a perforation. You may get sometimes the calcification, visceral calcification in case of the calcified hydrated cyst, pancreatic calcification, spleen calcification. So always comment of these things. So always see below the diaphragm also. Then always comment of the soft tissue surrounding the chest, containing breast shadows, subcutaneous soft tissues, and if there is any breastectomy or not, breast is absent or present, if there is any subcutaneous air, that is the surgical emphysema, that is subcutaneous emphysema due to any trauma, due to injury or other pulmonary causes. You may find sometimes calcification in the chest wall due to chronic rheumatous lesions, due to guinea worms or other causes of the calcification. Okay. Then always comment of the bones. Okay. If these bones, all bones that encasing the thoracic cage, that is containing these are the ribs, vertebrae, sternum and clavicle. If these are normal, then write down bony cage is unremarkable. If there is any erosions, any sclerotic lesions, any congenital variations, okay, then comment on this. Here you can see this bifid fourth rib, right fourth rib is the bifid. So you may see sometimes, see here the cervical ribs. So always comment on the bony case also. Then few words about the senile chest. Here there are some differences between the adult chest and senile chest. Obviously in the senile chest you will find the osteogenic bones here, less density bones here. You will find the aortic ductal calcification. You will find the prominent bronchospastial markings. Okay, so these are few differences between the senile chest and the normal routine adult chest. You should keep in your mind. Okay, you also look for the any artifacts, might be due to the any implants, that is like pacemakers, any cardiac leads. Artifacts may be due to the ornaments and the clothings. These are see here the artifacts due to clothing, tiny nodular opacities. Here you may get confused with the nodular lungs opacities. Sometimes you may find the lobular opacities in laps, usually on the left apex. This is due to the hair plate. So to get rid of this, always keep the hair plate on the side by, so it may not come in the field of the lung. Then you may see, you may find sometimes the technical artifacts. It is due to the electrostatic artifact, due to the the stored film create electricity sometimes due to the friction between the two films. May create this type of electrostatic artifacts. Okay dear, thank you for the patience, and next time we will discuss about the pathologies of the chest. Thank you.